Hey, what's up? Welcome to this week's Game Changer. I'm David. I'm here with the lovely Diana Villa. Good morning.
Good morning, everybody.
How are you today?
I'm doing good. I'm ready for the day. Thank you.
Little white cream, off-white sweatshirt.
Thank you. It was kind of strange, but here we are. And so we're going to pack 5 days in one day.
No.
Let's see how that's going to work out for us.
No, we're not going to pack 5 days. we're just gonna do one day, all right?
One day.
So this morning,
Like a power punch.
that's right, power punch. And so welcome those of you that are watching us live on YouTube, and also want to shout out and thanks to our audience that listens on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, Google. You guys are amazing. We hear from you often, and we see your post. And if you're watching or listening to our show, make sure you screenshot it. You can screenshot it. We had someone, Matthias, showed me a couple months ago that screenshotted. Listening in the car. Hopefully you weren't driving and while you were screenshotting, but shooting.
Like,
What is the proper screen? I guess that's
Screenshotting.
Screenshotting. Yeah, it's like you really never say it in that tense. Screen. Yeah. So it's Tuesday morning. Yeah, aren't you glad we're talking about excellence this morning? Because so far, that's you can tell by the way I'm talking that's what we were talking about this morning. But we're going to talk about how we're called to have a spirit of excellence, and that's going to be our show this week. And this is near and dear to our heart because we run a business, and of course, we've been in ministry. My wife and I as well, and the two have converged because we are trying to lift up Christ in everything that we do in our business and bring Him into the decisions. And it's always been. It's interesting. I know this might take a different turn. There's no way we would get through all the notes anyway. So I told her let's just go with it this morning. But we've always sought to bring Christ into our lives, and He's always been part of everything we did. But it's a different story when you have to rely on Him for even the decisions, rely on His blueprint and look at it and see a situation that you may not be familiar with. Anybody that's in business or anybody that's navigating a ministry or running a family, that's going to work today, if you may have had things figured out, but then in the last couple of years, things got turned upside down. And it's not looking at it from a success, failure, or was doing more business, less business. Not those things. For some people, that happened. But even if you had record years, or even if you made record profits, and there were things that got shaken. The way you hire, the way the way people respond. The way customers respond, possibly to your services. There's so many different types of things, and all of that is tied to people. And one of the things, Diana, that's changed is, or that we've had to tune into, and I don't think it's changed, is bringing in a spirit of excellence, preaching a spirit of excellence. And if you look throughout the Bible, there was never a time where things were just always the same. There were constant changes, and God always had people that operated in a spirit of excellence. And so before we get started today, can I just say this? And God has created within all of us a spirit of excellence. And I think for too long, excellence, this is going to sound weird, right? Excellence has got a bad reputation. It's like, how does excellence get a bad reputation? Because it's become synonymous with perfection. And I think that in this society that we're in, people just go with the flow. It's like, well, I'll just be you, and I don't want you to link it with perfection. It's not. Excellence is this, ready? Simply doing the best you can with what you've been given. And you go, well, I'm using what I've been given. You just blew past the whole point of excellence. It's doing the best you can with what you've been giving. And one of the things I want to point out about it is, if you're good at something right now because you've been given a talent, right? And you're good at it, or you do the best you can with it. And okay, I can see how God's gifted her in this area. Well, if you keep doing that for a year, by nature, what do you get at it? You get what?
Better.
Better, right? You get better at it. And so can I just say this, if you're producing the same today as you were 1 year ago, but yet you're better at it, then are you doing it with excellence? Let's say last year, it cut it because it was you were doing the best you could with what you had. But let's just say you have more capacity today. You have more ability today. You have more in you today to serve, to give, but yet you're not giving it all. You're still doing with the same amount. So it's producing something, but is it producing excellence? And I think that that's the thing that we need to understand. And God's placed that spirit in us. And you go, well, why? Well, I don't own the company. I don't, that's not my thing. That's not my ministry. That's not my church. Listen, look, I'm not getting paid for that, or I'm not doing that. It's like, those are the ways we think, and that's the world system, but that's never been God's. He gave, even though he didn't owe us anything, he gave his best to pay a debt he didn't owe, right? And so just as God is excellent in everything he does, right, in everything he creates, so we are called to do and create everything with a level of excellence. So I guess the question is, and then I want to hear from you, are we embracing our God-given spirit of excellence? That's a good question, right? I think the answer is definitely not always yes.
I think when you have a mindset and you make a commitment that, hey, this year I'm going to do some things and I'm going to do it with excellence. I think the amazing thing is when you plug into the Lord with that mindset and that commitment, that actually I feel like at first it's all the impurities are coming out. And so because you're putting your mind to do things with excellence as unto the Lord, I think that the Lord, those things that were, maybe broken procedures, maybe broken policies, maybe broken processes, maybe broken thinking. I think that the Lord has a way of beginning to bring those things to the surface to somewhat purify it. So what you're doing in excellence can be in a, I think, pure. I don't know if that was the right word. That's why I paused, in a more, pure way. And so I think when you make a decision, whatever area of your life, that, hey, I'm going to do this with excellence, don't be taken back when it actually all hell breaks loose, because these impurities are coming out. And I'm thinking of refining like pure gold, pure silver, that, you're becoming this boiling pot. Because if you made a decision to do something in excellence, there's probably a reason. It's probably because you already recognize that there's some broken spots and you're thinking, okay, I need to get this area cleaned up. So I think with your walk with the Lord, when if you're going to do, relationships with excellence, you better believe some ugly things are probably going to come to the surface. And then what do you do with them? I think that's where the first part of excellence is. When those impurities come forth, what do you do with them? Do you trust in the Lord, or do you revert back to old thinking, old patterns, things that haven't worked and gotten you where you're at? So I'm thinking of, behold, all things are new. I think when you make a decision to do something in excellence, recognize that we're going to have to do some new things. Also, I think don't be discouraged in that season too, because you might feel like I'm just on this exercise bike pedaling. Just make sure you're making some sort of progress. Make a marker and realize that progress is still progress. I think excellence equates to progress. You move, you get better, you get closer to where you want to be, you have a goal, whatever that is. So I think you also have to intricately examine, am I making progress in this area? And is there a reason why I'm not?
Yeah. And so I'll go as far as to say a culture of excellence, it doesn't just happen. So Diana said, when you make a decision to operate in excellence, don't be surprised if all hell broke loose. And, if you read and using examples in the scriptures, we use, the ones that stand out. I mean, there's tons of them, but the ones that stand out that you can kind of link into a lot of times with business or work as well would be, Daniel or, Joseph. These are people, and then there's tons, but these are just a couple that stand out in my mind that I gravitate towards. And, you witnessed it. I mean, you witness when they began to do things God's way, hell broke loose. I mean, Daniel, when he began to operate in excellence with the Lord, he didn't do anything wrong. He operated with excellence. He operated with integrity. He operated above board, and he got thrown into, to a pit with lions. Look, they don't have pit of lions like, on every corner today. It's not like, that's what you don't pay your rent, your landlord's going to throw you into a pit of lions, so to speak. But it's symbolic for the challenges that we find ourselves in. And so, the door, when you begin to operate in a spirit of excellence, when you begin to set a standard and move in that standard, because God's placed that in you and he's calling that out of you, then, understand that you're going to face resistance. But can I just say this? A culture of excellence is necessary, and it's going to get you to where God's placed in your heart to get. It's going to get you to that destination. But can I just say this? It doesn't just happen. And I'll go as far as to say this, it's intentional. And it starts with leadership. So one of the reasons that God's been dealing with me on this, he's been dealing with me for weeks on this, and I've been studying, I've got tons of notes on this. It's just in my heart, in my spirit, is because I'm a leader, right? And I have responsibilities. And so when I face these, God, where do we go? God, what do we do here? How do we maneuver this? What decisions do we need to make? God, these are the challenges. And I begin to place these things in front of him that I'm dealing with, or that the things that I steward are dealing with, the company that I run, the family that I run, the challenges we face. And all of a sudden, God brings me back. He brings me back to, hey, David, I placed a culture, a spirit of excellence in you. And as a leader, it's your job to develop and to set and to demand. Demand in a sense of, this is the standard, a culture of excellence. And it doesn't just happen. It's intentional. It starts with leadership. So whoever's at the top. So, the top of what? You could be sitting there right now going, I am at the top of the unemployment line. Okay. But you might be leading, but you got those kids there. Then that's the top. You're at the top of your family. You may be at the top of your family, may be jacked up. Your family reunion may look like an episode of Jerry Springer. I don't know. But the reality is, you may be the only saved one there. You're at the top. You may be at the top of your company, the top of your division, the top of your ministry, the top of the small group, the top of whatever it is. So it happens at the top. And maybe you say, David, I don't have any of that. Well, then you're at the top of yourself. You're the leader of you. And so whether you're a parent, whether you're a spiritual mentor, whether you're a leader, you must establish, the tone. You must establish the tone. You can put these in the comments, Mike, but you must do a couple of things real quick. This is what you must do. Establish the tone. Set the example. And then number 3, plan the execution. Not of your people. Not that execution. You must, I'm going to say it again. You must establish the tone, because can I just say this? If you don't establish it, someone else will. There's a tone going on in your department. There's a tone going on in your company, in your family, in your children. There's a tone. And you just might not be on the right note. So you have to establish the tone, because if you don't, someone else will. And then you have to set the example, because if you don't, someone else will. And then you have to plan the execution. It's not enough to do the first 2. And then the last, you must trust that those that have been trained can carry out the message. You have to trust them. And really what you're doing is you're trusting God, and you're trusting that he's placed the right people. And if you don't have the right people, get the right people, right? Add the right people. But you have to trust that those that he's placed around you have been trained to carry out the mission. I saw you looking up something.
No, I just want to look up actually the definition of it sounds silly, but of excellence. It's just the quality of being outstanding or extremely good. And so I think that also means excellence is that you're working towards, that to me says standing out. Yeah. Standing out. So I think working towards that, it's not enough, let's say, making sure you have things in line, I guess. If I'm going to clean the kitchen, so I meal prep on Sundays, and it's late when I get done. Pretty much takes me all day, but it's prepping for the whole week. And a couple of weeks ago, David's like, oh, it's so late. and I'm getting the food done. But at that point, he'd already taken.
That was not a smart thing to say, by the way.
He was already taken several naps, but I was in the mode of, and I was just cleaning up. So here's my excellence for my household. So I'm thinking of just different people that may be watching this, maybe aren't in career, maybe aren't in a work, an office environment, but in your house. For me, I was like, I wasn't going to stop until the kitchen was back the way it started. So that led me to be sweeping at 1:00 in the morning. I was sweeping and David woke up and goes, it's so late. And I wouldn't stop. For me, the excellence in that area for me was like, I wasn't going to stop and like, I'll worry about the kitchen tomorrow. I'm going to, why put off till tomorrow what I could do today? So I think excellence has to do with, you know what, I'm just going to go ahead and finish this. I'm not going to stop short. I'm going to do what it takes to get it done. I'm going to get it back to where it needs to be versus, going, it's okay if the floor is not mopped, wipe off the counters. And this is like trivial, so please don't take this as, but I finished it. I think excellence means that you don't stop short. You keep going even when, because I'll tell you, the shower and the pillow sounded really good at 1:00 in the morning after standing on my feet for several hours, sweeping and mopping and cooking. It sounded good, but I didn't stop short. I was like, no, I'm going to finish this and then I'm going to go on to the next. So I think excellence calls you to finish those things that you set forth, even when you are exhausted, knowing that the best feeling was when I got done right before I turned off the light in the kitchen, I was able to look and go, it is good. It must have been one of those things that the Lord felt after he created, it is good. I was like, it is good. I can go to sleep and not worry about, because had I not finished that, I would have been laying in bed going, I really needed to do this. I really needed that. So I think excellence also allows you to complete and feel accomplished.
Yeah, but a culture of excellence, can I just remind you guys of this? It's not about what you want and what you don't want. That's the easy part. So I'm going to say that again. That's the easy part. Like what you want, what you don't want, that's easy. We know what we want, right? We know what we want. The hard part about a culture of excellence, and this is kind of going back maybe to whoever and whatever it is that you're responsible for, because your house needs a culture of excellence. Your church needs a culture of excellence. Your ministry needs a culture of excellence. Your business, your department, right? I mean, everything you do. So the easy part is, hey, what do I want? What do I don't want? The hard part about a culture of excellence is that, listen, it has to be taught and caught. And that can go in the notes too, Mike, just the hard part. The hard part about or whoever's doing notes, the hard part about a culture of excellence is that it has to be taught and caught. You go, well, I'm teaching, because you see, if I didn't add that last part, you're sitting there going, okay, well, I'm teaching, I'm hammering it. But are you sticking around to see who catches it? Are you making sure they got it? Sometimes people don't say when they don't have it. I've been around people and trained people in many different ways in the sales and business side. And I can tell you for a long time, I've said things over and over again. And I can tell you that there were times where when pressed, maybe in one-on-ones, maybe even months later, maybe after it was too late because that person didn't work with me anymore, I only then look back and it was like, well, I never really understood that. So I'm teaching it, but I'm teaching it, but are they catching it? And so no matter what we've been entrusted with, right? This is a central truth. Either we will create the kind of culture we want, or by default, it will be created for us. So whether you're in a business, a nonprofit, it doesn't matter, church, any other organization, a family, doesn't matter. Without leadership setting the pace, someone in comments, I think it was Patrick Christie, said it's kind of like setting the pace. He's right. So without leadership setting the pace in creating a culture, the people that work there, the people that are around you, the people that you're leading will haphazardly create one. The Bible talks about this in Proverbs. It says, without a vision, the people perish. What that really means, and if you look at it in a couple of other versions, it says, without a vision, people run wild. Without you setting the pace, people haphazardly create one on their own.
I would say culture and even in relationships, are you creating a culture? Are you creating a habit? Or do you have habits? Are you implementing habits that create a good marriage? If you want a good marriage, are you investing in that? Are you creating a culture in your household that, you're teaching your children, okay, these are the things that we need to do. We're going to not just throw gum on the floor. We're gonna put it in the trash. Are you teaching? What are you trying to accomplish in those areas, in your household, in your marriage, in your ministry, in your personal relationships with friendships? What are you doing? What habits? So I think culture is created by the habits that you keep, the things that you do. That's how culture is created. So if you say one thing, you go, hey, we're going to make sure, guys, every night, I can think of a household, a real simple thing. Every night for kids, 10 minutes before we're going to go to bed, we're just going to all declutter some of the things, 10 minutes, and 10 minutes from you, 10, 10, 10. But you say that, and then you're sitting on the couch and everyone else is taking 10 minutes. It's probably not going to create a culture of people investing the 10 minutes at the end of the day to get things kind of put up a little bit. So are you talking about it, creating it, or are you exampling it as well? So I think you have to set whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish and create a culture for that. But are you implementing habits and actionary steps to be able to actually get there, just talking a good talk?
Yeah, that's really good. Really good. So let's say it this way, excellence cannot be turned on and off. So some of you, you get this, and the first thing we'll do is we'll run out of these podcasts. We'll run into our division. You run into your company. You run into your work. You run into your family. You call a meeting with your kids, and you're like, all right, listen, here's the deal. And you start to that's what I you want to fix it immediately, because this begins to convict you or begins to show you the shortcomings, and it should. But here's the deal. Excellence cannot be turned on and off like a light switch. It can't be turned on and off like a light switch, right? It should always be in the on position. So if it's off right now, turn it on. But don't just call everybody to a boot camp style lineup, right? And then just go down the line. I remember years ago, this is just small rabbit trail here, years and years and years ago. This is, 20 years ago, maybe 17 years ago. I got on this kick where I read this nutritionalist, listen to, actually it was a cassette tape series. That's how long ago it was. And I was listening to it, and I was driving around working, and it was called Eat Your Way to Eat, Drink, and Be Merry. Something like that. It was a Christian nutritionalist. And
I don't think it was Eat, Drink, and Be Merry, but okay.
Eat, Drink, and Be Healthy. Something like that. Anyway, long story short, it was like all these tapes, and it was this guy, Christian nutritionalist, and he was talking about the top 10 things not to eat. And it was like several things, and the top 4 things, if you eat these top 4 things, they'll kill you. And it was like aspartame, it was like pork, shellfish, and hydrogenated oils. And he talked about all the things, and he's right. That's not what this is about. But anyway, bottom line is I got on this kick where I went through my house, and I just I started making a change. And there's things I don't drink or eat to this day, right? There's things I don't eat and drink to this day because of that. But I went through my house, and I made my kids miserable. You could tell it from your point of view. Basically, I took all the good stuff out of the house.
He took all the good stuff, went to work every day, and left me to manage it, which was miserable. But I think that's a really good thing.
The kids were like, what did they say? They're like, why does Dad have that stupid diet or whatever?
Here's the point. If you're trying to create a culture, you're not going to be able to go in and just wreak havoc on everything, right? Because the truth, what happened in that situation is that lasted for a short time, and it wasn't long lasting. Now, it was long lasting on some level for David, but I've never understood get rid of pork, but put fried French fries in your mouth. That didn't equate. They're still bad for you. He didn't say anything about French fries. They're still bad for you, but there are some things that he doesn't do to this day. But the problem is that he grabbed a hold of what was being said, because maybe he was listening to it with an open mind, but when he tried to implement it in the household, it wasn't implemented. It wasn't implemented. It was just we're going to do this and everything's gone. Mm-hmm. And they never grabbed a hold of it. So we're going to go back to what he said.
They just went to their friend's house and ate it.
Yeah, right. You got to teach it, but they got to catch it. And nobody else in the household caught it.
No.
And back when they went to go catch it, they threw it back.
Yeah, they're like,
and picked up something else and threw it back. So I think that's really the key thing that was mentioned earlier, is that you got to teach it, whatever that is. And you have to put manageable, you may start out small. So for instance, maybe if you're in a season where you're just trying to bring some organization to your schedules, you're not going to be able to cut everything out of your schedule at one time, because you probably have obligations, but you can examine it and make little steps to begin to do that, get that in a rhythm. And then evaluate again. Okay, what am I going to do? So if you're trying to manage your time, or trying to I have so much on my plate, I can't breathe. Or if you're trying to make changes of maybe organization. We had a counter in our house that when we walked in, it was a catch-all counter. Everyone in some season, if you still have
you got them.
everyone has a catch-all counter. I don't think we really have it
No,
anymore.
you got them. You got them. Those listening, you got them. No, we don't have one.
But we used to.
We don't have anybody to throw and stuff on there anymore. All our kids are gone.
Yeah. So
You want a clean house? Just get rid of your kids.
you have to start making little necessary steps. That's true. That actually
Let them go dirty their own house.
and then you get to sit back and watch them manage it. It's really cool. But make small. So you start out, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. I don't want to eat an elephant. How do I eat a cheeseburger? One bite at a time. However, but you got to make small steps. So you start maybe small. If there's an area that you're trying to just get cleaned up, declutter, whether it's in, physical in your household, whether it's declutter some of your thinking, whether it's declutter some things that have taken away from your priorities, which would be your family, your spouse, your children. Maybe your family is starting to get disconnected because here's the thing. We have people that are working, some people that are one income households, dual income households. Then we have put soccer, sports, piano practices. So, kind of make it where maybe the whole family on some level is starting to get disconnected. Then you got to put a priority. Let's just try one night a week that we're going to sit down together, disconnect from things and plug in whatever culture you're trying to rebuild or build or some things. You got to take small actionable steps until they become a habit, and then you can implement some more. So know that whatever those are, those cultures, you're not going to be able to change a culture instantaneously, because whatever culture you're trying to change probably was a progress to get to where it's at. So it's going to be a progress to get it back to where you're wanting it or where you think. But I think it does take, collaboration. You have to collaborate with the ones that are going to be involved in that. But I think in that season, while you're doing that, again, all hell may break loose in that season. But here's where you go. Trust in the Lord and ask his guidance. And don't be afraid to change it up as it goes. I think if you're going to be good at that, you got to realize that when obstacles come, okay, is this the right path? But stand firm on the basis of, hey, I'm just trying to clean up this area, or I'm trying to build this culture for this. But some of your steps may change in your process.
Yeah. Man, it went by fast. We'll be back next week. But let me just say this, stay focused. So can I just say this and kind of leave you with this? Stay focused in our pursuit of excellence. And that's what it is, right? We often look too far ahead and rather than focusing on what God has given us to do right now. So can I just say that, don't get your vision confused with excellence. What God's placed in your heart, because you never get to where what God's placed in your heart in the timing that's going to not frustrate you if you don't learn to have a spirit of excellence with what God's given you right now. So too much looking ahead, I believe, will actually distract us for giving our best to our current work. And so, is it wrong to plan our careers? We talk about planning so much, and I get it. And there's some plans that we need to do that Habakkuk says, write it down, make it plain. There's some planning that we need to do, but while it sounds like it's the right question, we don't find, any successful people in the Bible planning their careers. Jeremiah 29:11, we find, for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you, not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future. If you only believe in this promise, we can stay focused and fulfill the commandment. 1 Corinthians 10:31. So whether you eat or drink or whatever you do it all for the glory of God. So it's easier said than done, primarily because we cannot wait, right? I struggle with this, you struggle with this, both at work and in ministry, especially when the results don't come as per my expectations. I need it now. I need it this month. I need it this week. I need it to line up, right? And, Phil Hodges said this, and it's a good quote. God called us not to be successful, but to be faithful. So learning to be faithful to what God has entrusted us with, right? Giving our best with all of our hearts until he gives us the next assignment, I think is the key to staying focused. So if I can say this, leave you with something today on this subject, stay focused. And if we look at Jesus' life, right, he stayed focused on his Father's will, even in the most difficult circumstances, while he was going to the cross, while he was in the garden, right? Scripture tells us he set his gaze upon his Father's will. He could have done more miracles. He could have healed more people, but he stayed focused on why he came to earth in the first place. So staying focused is the key. Can we pray this prayer together? So Lord, fill us with the knowledge of your will so that we can live like you and stay focused on the purpose for which you put us in our workplace, for which you put us in our family, for which you put us in our position, in our ministry. God, you put us there, whatever it is you put us in, Father, and all the things you put us in. that we can live like you, stay focused on the purpose for which you put us there for, and do everything that pleases you and brings glory to your name. In Jesus' name, amen. We'll see you guys next Tuesday. This will be up on YouTube tomorrow and up on all audio platforms on Wednesday. Make sure you tell somebody about next Tuesday morning. We'll see you then.
Yes.